felt like the punchline in my own family. I was never really seen as part of the extravagant world they created. I felt completely overlooked among those who believed they were the center of the universe. Tonight is the night. Tonight, they really tested my limits. The cheap coupon rested in my hand, its faded print a clear mockery. Get 25 off your next purchase at Bargain Mart. That was the gift I received for my 32nd birthday. In the midst of sparkling chandeliers and extravagant champagne, my family erupted in laughter and applause, as if they had just performed a grand act of kindness. "Come on, Isabella, don't pull that face." Andrew, my brother, let out a chuckle as he swirled his whiskey glass, his eyes sparkling with a hint of smug amusement. "We figured you could use a hand, especially since that coupon is essential, right? Looking for something?" I let out a scoff. They had no idea who I was. They believed I was barely getting by, stuck in a lackluster job and residing in a rundown apartment. They were completely unaware of my true life. My mother, Evelyn Carter, gave a nod accompanied by her signature tight-lipped smile, the kind that brushed aside anything not deserving of her focus. "Isabella, let's be practical. I know you're always looking to save a buck, so I thought you'd really like this gift. It's truly beneficial." Next to her, my father, Richard Carter, was completely absorbed in his phone. A single hand controlled the largest real estate empire in the state. He determined who in the family deserved his recognition. I had, of course, never created that list. "Be grateful," he said, his gaze fixed elsewhere. "Andrew put in the effort to organize this dinner just for you. Did you go through the hassle?" I nearly burst out laughing. He just needed to grab the phone and secure a table at the city's most exclusive restaurant, a spot where a single bottle of wine on the table outshone the worthless coupon they had just thrown my way. I gripped the crumpled paper tightly, a chill of realization washing over me. I was familiar with their disdain, but this time it was unmistakably obvious. To them, I had ceased to exist as a person. I was a punchline. Text, actually, Olivia, my younger sister, chimed in, snapping me back to reality. She leaned in, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Have you considered Andrew's offer? If you're interested, he can leverage his connections to help you land a job as an assistant at Carter Enterprises. This is an amazing opportunity. An incredible opportunity awaits." I almost choked on my drink. What were they offering me? After dedicating more than 10 years to constructing my own financial empire, I find myself in a role as an assistant at the family company. I knew this company inside and out, far better than the clueless individuals in charge. A company that I could officially take charge of in just a few hours. I looked at my father, anticipating him to put Olivia in her place, to tell her that such nonsense shouldn't be spoken. But he didn't. He nodded, as if it were the most sensible idea ever proposed. He urged you to think about it, his tone commanding and persuasive. Discover what true work really means. Genuine work? I clutched my wine glass, holding back the bitter laughter that was just itching to break free. Did they really believe I was just some failure seeking their pity? I inhaled deeply, pushing back the tempest raging within me. They'll discover the truth before long. I placed my glass down and scanned the room, taking in each family member with a keen eye. They shared laughter, relishing their lavish dinner. Little did they know that by tomorrow, everything would be different. I straightened my dress and rose, my voice steady yet cutting like a knife. "I appreciate it, but I can handle this without Andrew's assistance." My mother scowled. "Hey, Isabella, take a seat. We still have more to enjoy." I smiled, yet it lacked any warmth. Many of us have pressing matters to tackle in the morning. Andrew leaned back in his chair, a smirk playing on his lips. "Are you considering another part-time gig, or is it time to take your career to the next level?" I tilted my head, locking my eyes onto his. "Absolutely, Andrew. I'm definitely getting serious about this. Extremely serious." I took out a $200 bill from my wallet and laid it on the table, 6 times the worth of that useless coupon. Think of it as a helpful suggestion. As my dear brother always says, it's essential to settle debts the right way. Andrew burst into laughter, clapping sarcastically. He just didn't understand. Not a single one did. Tomorrow morning, when they step into that office, everything will change. Absolutely they would. They would finally grasp who truly held the reins of power. I turned and walked away, leaving my family in the distance. I'm still cracking up, completely unaware that everything was about to slip away from them. I walked out of the restaurant, not glancing back for a second. The cold wind whipped through my hair, yet I remained unfazed by the chill. My fingers gripped the phone in my coat pocket, my heart racing, not with fury, but with excitement. At last, after all these years, my plan is on the verge of completion. The black SUV arrived right on cue, the door swung open, and Jacob slid inside, his gaze as piercing as ever. "Everything is ready," he declared as soon as I closed the door. I nodded and took a deep breath. "Have the shareholders been informed?" Jacob flashed a sly smirk. "The announcement drops at 6 a.m., and by the time Andrew wakes up, he'll discover he's no longer the vice president." A smile broke free from me. Andrew Carter, the self-proclaimed financial genius, was nothing but a leech, riding the coattails of the Carter name. Little did he know, the empire he cherished had been under my control for quite some time. 10 years ago, I turned my back on the Carter family when my father forced me out of the company. At that time, all I had was sheer determination. I dedicated myself fully at a small, lesser-known investment firm. I meticulously saved every dollar, pouring my resources into projects that my family wouldn't even consider. They believed I was struggling, just scraping by. I was stealthily crafting my own empire. 5 years ago, I began my journey of acquiring shares in Carter Enterprises piece by piece, navigating through a network of subsidiaries and anonymous investment funds. Just 3 months ago, I took the leap and became the majority shareholder. Tomorrow morning, the world will find out. The SUV smoothly navigated the vibrant streets of New York. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. But my mind just wouldn't settle down. Jacob shot a quick look at me in the rearview mirror. "Are you absolutely certain you want to announce it now instead of waiting for the board meeting? This approach allows you to manage their reactions more effectively." I opened my eyes and gazed out the window. Absolutely not. I want them to wake up and be completely caught off guard. Imagine Andrew striding into that office, brimming with confidence, only to come face to face with the shocking truth that he's lost it all. Jacob chuckled softly. "Hey, Rodolphe." I shrugged my shoulders. "I'm simply returning the favor they showed me." Jacob fell silent. As the car came to a halt outside my penthouse, he passed me a folder. "Here are the final terms for your appointment as interim CEO. Once you sign tomorrow morning, you'll take the reins completely." I grabbed the documents and started flipping through the pages. Just one signature, and I would seize control of the billion-dollar corporation that my family had always ridiculed me for believing I could ever attain. I raised my eyes, locking onto Jacob's gaze. "Great job. Take a break and recharge. Tomorrow is going to be a big day." He gave a nod and walked away. I stood on my balcony, gazing down at the city, vibrant and glowing below me. Tomorrow morning, New York will experience a significant change. I took a sip of wine, a smirk playing on my lips. "It's time to find out who the true failure is, Andrew." I walked into Carter Enterprises right at 8 a.m., confidence radiating from me. All eyes were on me as I made my way through the office, and a hush fell over the room. Employees who used to see me as just Andrew's little sister now looked at me with puzzled expressions. I headed directly to the main conference room for an urgent board meeting that had just been summoned. As I walked in, I saw Andrew pounding his fist on the table. What on earth is this? Who gave the green light for the stock sale? Who made this ridiculous choice? I grabbed a chair, settled in, and flashed a smile. "Hey there, Andrew. Good morning." He spun around to confront me, his face burning bright red. "What on earth are you doing here?" With purpose, I pulled a stack of documents from my handbag and set them down on the table. Isn't today the day of the shareholder meeting? As the majority shareholder, I thought it was important for me to be here. Andrew's face turned ghostly white. What did you just say?" I pushed the documents across the table to him. I'm excited to announce that I now officially own 52% of Carter Enterprises. And that means... I leaned in closer, my voice steady and purposeful. "You've stepped down from the role of vice president." The room was enveloped in silence. A board member eagerly flipped through the documents. As he finally lifted his gaze, his voice quivered with emotion. "She's absolutely right." Andrew's gaze locked onto mine, pure terror washing over his face. I reclined in my chair, crossed my arms, and shot him a grin that could cut glass. "What did you say, Andrew?" "Absolutely. Many of us could benefit from some financial support." His eyes turned dark. "Isabella, please reconsider this choice." I couldn't help but smirk. "I've already taken care of that." Andrew gasped. his hands shaking as they clutched the edge of the table. "This is a decision you'll come to regret." I tilted my head, fixing my eyes on him. "You really believe I spent 10 years planning this without anticipating your response?" Andrew was completely out of words. I faced the board, my voice strong and unwavering. "Let's kick off the meeting." And just like that, Andrew Carter's reign has come to a close. I sat in the boardroom, observing the color drain from Andrew's face as he grappled with the reality that everything he once owned was slipping away. There was a time when I hoped to be here for a different reason. I really wanted my father to recognize my potential and offer me that one opportunity to show that I wasn't useless. Yet, that moment never arrived. With my eyes shut, memories from the past surged forward, playing out like a slow-motion film. I stood before the shining glass doors of Carter Enterprises, my heart racing with anticipation. I recently graduated from the Wharton School with top honors in finance, a program renowned as one of the best in the nation. My transcripts shine, my internship experience stands out, and my ambition is unmistakable. I walked into my father's office brimming with hope. "Dad, I'm determined to work here," I stated firmly. Richard Carter lifted his gaze from his desk, his piercing gray eyes locking onto mine. "Is this the place? What's the reason behind that?" I inhaled deeply. I possess the skills needed. I'm not looking for a top role. I just want the opportunity to get started. I'm ready to tackle any job the company requires. My father let out a soft chuckle, but it lacked any warmth. It dripped with contempt. "Isabella, you really need to grasp how the world operates." He reclined in his chair, arms crossed confidently. "This company isn't the right fit for you. Business is not defined by grades or degrees. This environment is not one you could handle." I tightened my fists, yet my voice remained unwavering. "I'm ready to learn." "Absolutely not." His voice cut through the air, cold and unwavering. I bit my lip. "Let's talk about Andrew. How is it possible that he landed the vice president position right after graduation, despite having no finance degree or experience?" My father stared at me like I had just uttered the most ridiculous thing imaginable. "Andrew is the rightful heir to the company, making him a true Carter." I was completely frozen in place. "No, I'm definitely not." He left me hanging. I took a quick look around the office, the place I always envisioned myself working. In that instant, the harsh truth hit me hard. They never planned to give me a shot. With a firm grip on my handbag strap, I bit my lip to hold back the tears. "I'll carve out my own path." I turned and walked away, leaving no room for a goodbye. That day marked the end of my belief that I truly belonged in this family. The challenges of those initial days. I walked away from Carter Enterprises with nothing but empty hands. Without family support and no clear path ahead, I'm forging my own way. I reached out to more than 30 companies, but even with my impressive academic achievements, I lacked the necessary connections. After countless rejections, I finally secured a position at a small investment firm, Taylor & Finch. What was my first job? Brewing a fresh cup of coffee. I was kept away from financial reports. I was overlooked as an employee with potential. I felt completely invisible, just like I was for my family. I refused to give up. I stayed at the office later than everyone else every night. I watched intently as the investment analysts delved into the market, making decisions and unraveling the numbers on financial reports. After 3 months, I successfully persuaded my manager to let me take on a small project. Just 6 months later, I earned a promotion to financial analyst. Just 3 years later, I emerged as one of the firm's leading investment specialists. All that time, I was up to something that nobody had a clue about. I was diving into investments. The quiet maneuvers. As Andrew and Olivia splurged on luxury vacations, sports cars, and mansions, I channeled every dollar into stocks. I chose not to invest in the big-name companies that everyone else was flocking to. I searched for promising small businesses ready to skyrocket in growth. I crafted a hidden portfolio, piece by piece, investment by investment. I reinvested every dollar I earned. It's not about designer handbags or extravagant dinners. It's all about power. After 8 years of hard work, I built a fortune that surpassed my family's wildest dreams. That's when I took action. The moment I began acquiring Carter Enterprises. I didn't purchase shares directly. I utilized a network of small investment funds, shell companies, and transactions managed by individuals with no apparent connections to me. I gradually and discreetly acquired small portions of Carter Enterprises. The belief was widespread that the Carter family continued to hold the reins of the company. Here's the reality: I was the one in control. I saw Andrew sitting there, completely frozen, struggling to grasp the news of my takeover. He was completely in the dark about what had just occurred. Absolutely, I did. I dedicated a whole decade to planning for this moment, the day I stepped in and took charge. Stepping into Carter Enterprises the next morning, I was hit by an unexpected sensation. It wasn't the unfamiliarity of the place that struck me. Today, I felt a sense of belonging like never before. My footsteps resonated on the marble floors, drawing the attention of employees who turned to watch me, their expressions a mix of confusion and uncertainty. The large glass doors of the boardroom burst open, instantly plunging the room into a heavy silence. At the head of the conference table, Andrew Carter, the once powerful figure, leaned over his laptop, his gaze fixed intently on the screen. He had definitely seen the announcement. He was aware of it. Yet, he still refused to face the truth. I slid into the chair, taking my time, radiating confidence. "Hey there, Andrew. Good morning." He shot his head up, eyes burning with rage, even though he fought to keep his cool. "Do you really believe you can pull this off?" I shot him a cold smile. "I'm not convinced." "Hey, Andrew, I absolutely did." The board members sat in tense silence, each one holding their breath, afraid to make a sound. I set a stack of documents on the table, my voice steady but filled with significance. Carter Enterprises has faced losses for 3 straight quarters, with the Eastern Division taking the hardest hit, as revealed by the latest financial reports. Interestingly, it's the exact division that falls under your management. Andrew's hands gripped the table with intensity. "Are you really trying to blame this on me?" I tilted my head slightly, my gaze piercing and intense. "No need for me to put in any effort, Andrew. The numbers tell a compelling story." A board member cleared his throat, his eyes shifting nervously. "Let's dive into the company's financial situation." I nodded, cutting Andrew off before he could say a word. "Let's dive into a discussion. It's a fantastic idea. Let's dive into how Andrew lost over $200 million in under a year." The board buzzed with whispers. I confidently pulled out a second set of documents and flipped straight to the key page. Moreover, the internal audit reveals that Andrew has funneled over $5 million from company funds into his personal expenses. A stunning mansion in Miami awaits you, a luxurious yacht, experience the luxury of first-class flights to Europe, and let's highlight the intriguing spending on experience the electrifying atmosphere of a Vegas nightclub. The CFO pounded a fist on the table. "Is this really true?" Andrew fought to maintain a neutral expression, but I could see the cracks starting to show. "I serve as the vice president. I can use company funds for client entertainment." I locked eyes with him. "How about treating your clients to an unforgettable night out with VIP passes to a nightclub? Incredibly imaginative." A light chuckle echoed from the board. I noticed the veins in Andrew's neck tightening. He was on the verge of losing it. He pounded his fists on the table and sprang to his feet. "You really believe you can just kick me out of this company? Welcome to my family's business." I rose steadily, my gaze locked and unyielding. "You're wrong, Andrew. This company is mine now." I pushed another stack of documents toward the board. I now hold the majority stake in Carter Enterprises with 52% ownership. I have complete authority over executive decisions. Everyone in the room was left speechless. A few board members shared knowing glances, followed by subtle nods of agreement. Andrew shook his head, clinging to his final glimmer of hope. "Dad is not going to allow this to happen." I shrugged, my voice steady yet chilling. Only Longer may have a voice, but honestly, I'm well beyond his grasp now. His face lost all color, and his breathing became rapid and erratic. I locked eyes with him, my words cutting through the air like a blade. "Andrew Carter, your termination from the position of Vice President of Carter Enterprises is effective immediately." The room fell into complete silence. Andrew was ready to voice his objections, but not a single board member came to his aid. His eyes raced around the room, panic gripping him as the realization hit. No one remained to rescue him. I faced the security team standing by the door. "Kindly show him the way out." 2 security guards moved in closer. Andrew jerked his hands back from the table, fully aware of his helplessness. He faced me, his voice choked with fury and urgency. "Isabella, you're making a choice you'll come to regret." I crossed my arms, giving him nothing but a chilling, knowing smile. Before I have any regrets, be sure to pack your things." He shot me a look filled with pure hatred before turning on his heel and striding away, his footsteps thudding like the weight of a crumbling empire behind him. He shut the door firmly behind him. I let out a slow breath, savoring the exhilarating taste of victory coursing through me. The board sat in stunned silence, as if a hurricane had just ripped through the room. I took a seat, my hands resting firmly on the table. "Listen up," I said, my voice strong and cutting through the air. "Let's dive into the exciting future of Carter Enterprises." For a moment, the air was thick with silence. One by one, heads started to nod in agreement. In that instant, I realized I had triumphed, securing it all. I stood in the boardroom, fixated on the door from which Andrew had just been forcefully taken out of Carter Enterprises. I'm leaving my company. The excitement of victory pulsed in my chest, but I was aware. The fight was far from finished. My father refused to sit quietly. Richard Carter was a force to be reckoned with. I witnessed him obliterate anyone who dared to oppose him. And now, I was the one who had just defeated his golden son. I glanced at Jacob, who had been quietly watching the meeting unfold from beginning to end. "What's our time frame?" Jacob flashed a smirk, his eyes glinting with intensity. "I just heard back from the lawyers, and it's not going to take long. Richard has taken the bold step of filing a lawsuit." I couldn't help but let out a dry chuckle. I had seen this coming. "What are the costs involved?" Jacob grabbed a stack of documents and placed them right in front of me. "He's throwing accusations your way, alleging that you engaged in insider trading by using confidential information to unlawfully obtain shares." I flipped through the pages, scanning the bold printed allegations that felt like a battle cry. I couldn't help but smirk. Does he really believe this will hold me back? Jacob crossed his arms and nodded slowly. No, he believes he can't win. Winning isn't everything. I was already aware of that. Richard aimed to prolong the case, ensnare me in endless legal struggles, damage my reputation with the board, and sow enough discord to turn shareholders against me. A classic move. I was ready for this challenge. I shut the file and leaned back in my chair, taking a moment to reflect. Amy has no idea that I'm already one step ahead. Jacob arched an eyebrow. "Are you suggesting we dissolve Carter Holdings?" I nodded in agreement. "Absolutely. He believes I'm still managing my assets through Carter Holdings, the investment firm I created. Just 3 days ago." I pushed another folder across the table toward Jacob. "Carter Holdings is officially dissolved. All of my assets and shares have been successfully transferred to a new entity, Imperium Capital." Jacob raced through the pages, then burst into a low chuckle. "Intelligent? So, any documents Richard has regarding Carter Holdings are not effective." Exactly. Richard crafted his lawsuit based on my previous financial structure. However, the issue was that structure had vanished completely. He could sue Carter Holdings as much as he wanted, but the truth was, Carter Holdings no longer had control over anything. I had shifted everything out of his grasp. Jacob let out a scoff, reclining in his chair with a dismissive air. I'm sure Richard is going absolutely crazy right now. I couldn't help but smirk. We'll find out before long. That night, I stood on my apartment balcony, savoring a glass of red wine, when my phone rang. Richard's number. I waited for it to ring 3 times before picking up. "Isabella!" His voice cut through the air, icy and unyielding, devoid of the arrogance that once defined him. "Hey, Dad!" I savored another sip of wine, my voice steady and composed. "You really think you can take me down this way?" I couldn't help but chuckle softly. "I don't believe I did, Father." A thick silence hung in the air, and I could almost feel his sharp, uneven breathing on the other end. "When did you start planning this?" "Ever since you turned me away from the company." A scoff echoed from the other end, but this time it lacked any confidence. "You really believe you've come out on top, daughter?" "Absolutely not." I set my glass on the table, my eyes locked on the dazzling Manhattan skyline. "I've claimed victory. I've reclaimed what's rightfully mine." "I won't stop." Richard's voice cut through the air with determination. "I'm ready to take on this lawsuit. I'm determined to take back control." I stood firm. "Go ahead and give it a shot. But deep down, you know that your power slipped away a long time ago." He took his time to respond, but deep down, I knew I was right. If you truly had the upper hand, you wouldn't be reaching out to me tonight. Quiet. Extended, intense. I can vividly imagine his face. His eyes blazed with fury, bitterness, and a sense of helplessness. At last he spoke, his voice cutting through the silence like a razor-sharp blade. "You truly are my daughter." I couldn't help but smirk. That's the one thing you can truly take pride in when it comes to me. The call is over. Below, the city lights sparkled as if everything remained the same. But I was aware. In just one night, Richard Carter's entire world came crashing down. I was certain Andrew would put up a fierce battle. He had always succeeded until now. He spent his whole life basking in our father's protection, throwing money around without a second thought. Today, he found himself with nothing to hold on to. After wrapping up my meeting with the board, I stepped out of the office, but I stayed laser-focused on his every move. I was certain he would attempt to flip the situation around. Absolutely. I saw it coming. Just 2 days after being let go, Andrew burst back into Carter Enterprises with a vengeance. He had lost the aura of a powerful vice president. His hair was a wild mess, and his eyes were bloodshot from sleepless nights. He stormed into my office. No knock, no pause. "Do you really believe this is the end, Isabella?" I raised my eyes, completely unbothered. "It seems you haven't quite grasped the lesson yet, Andrew." He slammed a stack of documents onto my desk, his face contorted with fury. I reached out to a few dedicated shareholders. I can push to reclaim my position. I scoffed and shoved the stack of documents aside, treating them like they were completely worthless. "Who are the shareholders? Who gained from your questionable business dealings?" With a relaxed posture, I fixed my icy stare on him. "Do you honestly believe I just sat here, waiting for you to make a move without getting ready?" Andrew paused for a moment. I grabbed another file from my drawer and flung it onto the table in front of him. The instant I took over the company, I ordered a comprehensive financial audit. He tensed up, his eyes darting with anxiety. "And you won't believe what happened next," I continued, my voice cutting through the air. "Your presence was felt all around, leaving a mark wherever you went." Andrew flipped open the file, his face going pale as he quickly scanned the contents. $5 million for a stunning beachfront mansion? Absolutely. $2 million for a yacht? That's quite the investment. $500,000 funneled into upscale nightclubs. What about this? This is only the beginning. He gulped, his hands shaking with intensity. This can't possibly be official evidence. I locked eyes with him, steadfast and unyielding. "I've sent the complete report to the SEC. Andrew inhaled sharply, his whole body tensing up. "No way, you're kidding. Absolutely not. Under federal law, embezzling funds from a publicly traded company is a serious offense. What's the penalty? Sentences can range from 5 to 20 years behind bars." A bead of sweat trickled down his temple. I grinned, serene but lethal. "Everything is gone, Andrew." He sprang up from his chair, panic washing over his face. "I'm ready to negotiate. Let's find a solution to this problem together." I crossed my arms and shook my head slowly. "Absolutely not, Andrew. I refuse to negotiate with anyone who has misused company funds to support their lavish lifestyle." The boardroom door burst open with intensity. 2 SEC agents entered the room, their faces a mask of icy indifference. "Is Mr. Andrew Carter here?" Andrew whipped around, his face pale and shocked. "Get ready, because we have a warrant for your arrest related to embezzlement and securities fraud." "Wait, let me clarify." The agents ignored the message. They handcuffed him right in front of the whole office staff. Andrew went all out. "Dad will step in. He won't let this happen. He'll save me." I locked eyes with him, my stare cutting through the air like a knife. "Do you really believe Dad will come to your rescue?" Andrew stood still, his eyes growing wide. In that instant, my phone buzzed to life. The name displayed on the screen. "Meet Richard Carter." I put it on speaker so everyone could hear it loud and clear. Richard's voice was steady, completely lacking any emotion. "I'm not going to do anything, Andrew." Andrew stood there, completely speechless. "You've got this, Dad." Richard let out a deep sigh. "Your actions have created quite a stir. It's time to face the consequences head on." Andrew emitted a strained, urgent sound. "Hey, Dad! I'm your son. I am the rightful heir to this family." Richard released a sharp, icy laugh that echoed with bitterness. "No, Andrew, you were simply a mistake." The call cut off suddenly. Andrew ceased his struggle. He stood there, wrists bound by handcuffs. He was betrayed by the very man he had idolized his whole life. I moved in closer, leaning in to whisper directly into his ear. "This time you've lost, and there's no one to rescue you." He faced me, his eyes ablaze with hatred. "Isabella, you will pay for this." I just shrugged it off. Wishing you the best in prison, Andrew. He was led out of the office, with every employee's gaze fixed on the unfolding drama. I stood tall, my head held high. Andrew had constructed his whole existence around wealth, power, and the shield of our father's protection. Today, he lost it all. What about me? I stood there, untouchable. The boardroom was electric with disbelief. Andrew Carter, the self-proclaimed rightful heir of this company, had just stepped out in handcuffs, with no one left to come to his rescue. I stood in the center of the room, soaking in the charged atmosphere. Several board members shot me anxious looks, while others frantically rifled through the documents on the table, looking for a way out. Yet, there was nothing. I scanned them intently, my voice cutting through the air, steady and deliberate. It's time for us to implement some official changes. Everyone agreed. One of the CFOs cleared his throat, fighting to regain his composure. Isabella, is that you? As the majority shareholder, who do you propose for the role of chairman of the board? I firmly planted both hands on the table, exuding confidence and authority. Let's skip the discussion. I'm ready to take that position. Several glances were exchanged, yet no one dared to oppose me. They witnessed the fate of those who chose the wrong side. Within just 10 minutes, the votes were cast and signed. I am thrilled to announce that I have been officially named chairwoman of Carter Enterprises. This company is finally all mine. Just as I stepped out of the boardroom, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I took a quick look at the screen. Meet Richard Carter. Eth. I took my time to respond. I let it ring 3 times, relishing each moment he had to wait. Next, I answered the call. What is it, Dad? Richard's voice dropped to a low tone, lacking its typical arrogance. Do you really believe you've triumphed, Isabella? I couldn't help but smirk as my eyes scanned the vibrant, glowing streets of New York below. Absolutely not. I've achieved something incredible. I've reclaimed it all. Quiet, I can clearly see his face in my mind. A man who once wielded absolute power now stands by as everything he built falls apart before his eyes. Andrew shattered this family, Richard muttered, his voice icy. I chuckled softly. No, you ruined it ages ago. A quick intake of breath from the other side. Yet, there's no denying it. I yanked the phone away from my ear, poised to end the call. This time, Father, your options have run out. With that, I wrapped up the call. Richard Carter felt utterly powerless. I had just reached the pinnacle. That night, I stepped back into my penthouse, a space untouched by any family member before me. Perched on the 70th floor of a soaring skyscraper, it commanded a breathtaking view of the entire city. Every piece of furniture was absolutely perfect. Every detail of my decade-long plan is meticulously crafted. Jacob was already there, with 2 glasses of champagne eagerly waiting on the table. He watched me, his eyes brimming with a depth I seldom encountered in anyone else. Honor. Congratulations, you made it happen, he stated. I lifted my glass, swirling the golden liquid within the crystal with anticipation. I didn't just do it, I clinked my glass against his, my voice a soft yet resolute declaration. I reclaimed it all. Jacob let out a laugh, shaking his head in disbelief. I must say, this was one of the most impressive takeovers I've ever seen. I savored each slow sip, my gaze fixed on the city lights dancing below. The entire collection of possessions belonging to the Carter family. Now it's mine. I had transformed into someone entirely new. The person standing outside my father's office, asking for an opportunity. I was now the one in control. Jacob placed his glass on the table and crossed his arms defiantly. What's next? You've seized control of the company, taken down your father and Andrew. Do you honestly believe this is the conclusion? I fixed my gaze on him, a sharp glint sparking in my eyes. I have one last thing to wrap up. Jacob blinked and couldn't help but let out a soft chuckle. Is that Richard Carter? I nodded deliberately. He's lost it all. I want to ensure he never rises again. I grabbed my phone and started scrolling through my contacts. A name flashed onto the screen. I need someone who can help me put an end to Richard Carter's career once and for all. I hit the call button. Let's get to work. Jacob leaned back, observing me with a knowing smile. I placed my champagne glass down, my eyes sparkling with the intensity of a wolf poised for the chase. The game is far from over. Richard Carter still lingered in this world, not entirely erased. Just believe me, the day was approaching fast. Isabella Carter's story goes beyond mere revenge. It showcases the incredible strength of perseverance, strategy, and determination. In a world where power is frequently passed along through connections instead of earned through hard work, Isabella demonstrated that genuine success transcends privilege. It's all about intelligence and resilience. Life operates in a similar fashion. Don't let underestimation, neglect, or betrayal hold you back. Seize every opportunity. Calculate your moves and never back down. Your victory is on the horizon. What happens when it does? You can't be stopped. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Isabella Carter's story. Has she really triumphed, or do challenges still lie ahead? We want to hear your thoughts. Be sure to follow the channel for more captivating stories about life, family, and the valuable lessons learned from navigating complex relationships.